Without you, it would be impossible for me to create the wonderful stories that I had so much fun and pleasure writing. Without you, none of this would have happened. You are the best. You deserve the applause. Give a round of applause to yourselves. This town is just a wonderful town to write about because there's so many fascinating and interesting stories to hear about. Just when I came back, I was in Israel for 2 weeks promoting my book over there, and some of my fans from Israel are here. Thank you so much for being here. It's a real thrill to see them. And when I came back, one of the first things I did was I went to the inauguration, and Rabbi Mark Gelman got up, and he goes, "Pray for Tom." I was overwhelmed. It's for Tom Hartman, who has Parkinson's. And I was like, what a moving statement to pray for Tom. Then he went on to say how odd is it that a rabbi would have for a best friend a Catholic priest. And I was just little tiny stories like that made my day. Now, just recently, I attended the Methodist Church on West Neck Road. I went to their barbecue, and their pastor, Pastor Luan, who's right over there, wave your hand to us, Pastor. He welcomed me to the congregation and told the congregation that I was an author, and he made me honorary Methodist of the day. Right then and there, I knew I had a chapter for my next book called A Little Peace in Heaven. So I'm walking out of the parking lot, and I see 6 people coming in, and I go to them, "Your pastor is totally awesome. He made me honorary Methodist of the day, even though I'm Catholic." And they looked at me and said, "How did you get that title? Because we're Catholics." So it's just wonderful little community stories like that. So Pastor, you're going to be in my next book, Gone to the Beach. So, and I think we're going to keep your name in the book. So since you're now a celebrity and everybody does know you. So I just want to thank all of you for coming out of here, and it's just a wonderful place to be in. And the reception that I'm getting from my book is so enormous. I love it when people come up to me and they go, "Oh, we totally loved your book." And then I'll go to them, "Oh, which chapters did you do?" And it's just the feedback I get from them is just so enormous, and it moves me like anything. So I'm having the time of my life with this project, and I want to thank you all for being so kind to me. Now, I do have a list of thank yous of who I want to thank for making this project possible. I see my buddy Carlo in the audience. Rock on, Carlo. He's a young kid. What grade are you, Carlo? 11th. Awesome, awesome. Look at this is hip. The young kids know what I'm doing. So there's a list who I need to thank for who, without this book, it's not possible. And I know Terry mentioned them before, but these are really special people in my life. They've been forever. And if you would just stand up after I mentioned your name. First of all, Helen Crossan, who I came up, whom I asked if sex should be in my book. And we went, "No, we want this for children to read." And I totally agreed with her. That was the best advice she could have given for me. And that's why I think it's part of the gem of my book. Second, I have to thank profusely Michael Fairchild. Can you stand up, Michael? Michael did the wonderful photography in my book. And it is so beautifully to look at. And what makes Michael special was that his wife, Susie Willett, was my first grade teacher at the Lloyd Harbor Elementary School. And we've been friends ever since. And Susie, can you stand up for a second? And they're my choice chapter. I hope you don't mind me mentioning that. But and Susie's like, you're lucky you have my husband as a photographer, and lucky I am. He's the best photographer in the world. And finally, my lovely friend B. Hansen. B, stand up. B, stand up. B taught me in first grade. And we've been friends ever since. And she's an amazing person. Oh, this microphone's still going. She's an amazing person, and I love her madly, and we've been friends ever since. And I was in her movie. I did a cameo appearance. If I could write a book, the B. Hansen film, which was a really fascinating thing, which premiered at the Huntington Cinema Arts Center. And I went to see B's place. Or she's a famous actress and a famous Broadway star, and I've seen all of her plays, and I totally love them all. Mother Jones being my favorite one. And then finally, Pamela Sherlock. Now, Pam is interesting. I hope you don't mind me telling this, but his son Justin is in his second year at Harvard. And he got a perfect score in his SATs for writing, an 800. And I saw him at church, and I was like, I want a picture with the Harvard guy. And then he looked at me. He's dressed in a Navy blazer. He's tall. He's a Wally Serbiak lookalike, except younger version of a Wally. And then to Charles, Justin's like, I'm nervous posing with a famous author like you. So. And then I want to thank, of course, Terry Walton. Terry Walton, stand up again. Get a round of applause. Nothing would be possible without Terry. She's got the greatest eye, and I tell people I would not be here without Terry's vision and her warmth and the way she expressed everything. It's just so beautifully. She kept my language simple, the way I wanted it, and the way I told it from my heart, and I am absolutely grateful for that. And then I would love to thank Bobby and Richie Klein, who've been friends of mine forever and ever. They're the greatest people in the world, and I love them dearly. And I also want to acknowledge my good friend, Robert Hughes, who's the town historian. And I mean, this is how small the community is. We have to do at the Cold Spring Harbor Library when it first opens up. Robert introduces himself and goes, you were an altar boy with me at St. Patrick's Church. And it's like, oh my God, the interconnectedness. So that's, and it's like after years of not seeing each other, you suddenly see each other. And then I would like to finally thank Inga Gibb, who I just met tonight for the first time, and she made my book look so beautiful. When I opened up the book for the first time, I couldn't believe how beautiful. Stand up, Inga. And I just met Inga for the first time tonight, although I feel I've known Inga forever and ever, so I'm very grateful for Inga. And then finally, Michael Reardon, who's not here, but who was a Cold Spring Harbor alumni, I found out from Terry Walton, which I thought was really great. He was my printer, and I thank him for doing a wonderful job with that. And
he's sick tonight, but he's present in spirit.
He's present in spirit. Thank you for that, Terry. Now, I would love to open up the floor. Oh, you know what? I got to say thank you to this special person. Joan Circle, get up. Show yourself to the audience. She's the first person who interviewed me from the press, and she did a beautiful job from the Long Island.
Yeah, if you don't press the little button that turns it on and off.
Which one? Show me, Nicole. Nicole has to help me with that. Oh, it's on. It's on. It's on. Oh, Walter Colos. Get up. Walter Colos.
Just a little thing on there.
Show me this, Nicole. I need Nicole's help. She's the best. Give a round of applause to Nicole. Sliding down. a slippery slope. I want to say Walter and I, we've been friends forever and ever, and Walter himself is a wonderful writer, and he's a wonderful historian for the town of village of Lloyd Harbor, and I appreciate reading his columns in the Village Record all the time, and he really knows his history. So with that, I would love to open up the floor for Q&As. Terry.
I know that he's changing over names in books. I wonder if anyone who knows what he or she, where he or she is mentioned, would stand up and say, I'm the one on page 27, I'm the one.
That's a great idea. Anyone who just wants to do that, you don't have to feel obligated, but that would be a cute thing.
Oh, secret name. Oh, maybe you haven't read it yet. When you do, be in touch.
You'll be great. Any more questions?
What?
Carlo.
How come this little box is at the end of each story?
I don't know. Ask Inga.
It's an end symbol. It's just a visual stop saying the end of a vignette. It's a symbol.
Great question, Carlo.
Checking them off. Is that right?
Oh,
He's checking them off.
what an observant kid. All right, my buddy Peter Slogan of the Long Islander.
Magnus, I see you around town, all over the place, reading your fans and everything else. And I know you're always working, you're always stashing the next story in your head. But I never see you taking notes. Do you take notes?
No, actually, that's very observant for you. No, I don't take notes at all. And when I write, I call it a click. And I see it visually. And then I have to get it out of my system. And it takes me no more than 20 minutes to write a story. And I consider myself, I compare myself to Mozart when I do my writing. Because Mozart was effortless when he did his writing. And it's a joy for me to write. So no, I don't keep notes at all.
As do I. You write every day?
No. My friend Robert Hadley.
Would you please read 2 or 3 of your favorites?
For you, yes. I'm gonna do the Lady Gaga question because this in itself was interesting. I was going to Malloy College, and I stopped by Mercy College, which is right next to Malloy College, and then Malloy College is all fenced off, and then I see a nurse there, and I go, "Is that Malloy College?" She goes, "Yes." And I go, "Oh, how do you get there?" And she goes, "Oh, the next road over." And it was a dirt road, and I go, "No, that couldn't be it." So I kept going, and it was one way, one way, one way, and it ended up being in Garden City. So I got lost, and then I found myself back to Hempstead, and I said, "I'm going to try this again. I'm going to go on the Southern Parkway to Route 19, and we'll do it again." And I did it. And then Father James was there, and he was giving a talk about how Christians need to be more funny people, and how humor is the best thing in the world for you. And it was about 1,000 people in the audience, and I got up and I thought I'd be a tad naughty, and I said to him, "Would Jesus Christ have been a fan of Lady Gaga?" The whole house cracked up like that. And he writes in his book, "For Magnus, for the great Lady Gaga question." And I knew right then and there I had a chapter idea, the Lady Gaga question. And then he was really, really cool because you always need permission slips when you have to abuse a famous person. And then I sent it to him, and then he sent it back to me with a note, "Happy to help, Father Jim." And I was like, wow, that is really cool. And I'm going to read another story of mine, which I love. And this is, I'm going to do the "I'm Jewish one day" story. And then, here we go. Okay. My friend's mother passed away around the 4th of July. I attended his service. This was the first Jewish service that I ever been to, and I was intrigued by it. I didn't have a yarmulke on me and was greatly relieved that the chapel had yarmulkes that you could wear. I put mine on. It was a great service. I enjoyed the rabbi's sermon very much. It was about the beauty of his mother's life. I had known her and loved her. That whole day I felt as though I was Jewish. After the service ended,